All right, ladies and gentlemen, trying this again. I'm your host for today's broadcast, Stanley 13, as we're preparing to get underway here at Catalunya for Stint 2. We are running behind, and I do apologize for that. Real quick, let's look over the list of drivers who will be running today. ESV Pipes will be taking over in the Dodge Viper that won in Stint 1. NDL Shadow will be back in the 160 Team Noodle Viper. NDL Drewski is back in the 51 BMW M8. ZR Jerluki, we still cannot see their paint scheme for some reason. F1R Moonrise is going to be in the 101 Dodge Viper. NDL Hot Dog will be in the number 50 Team Noodle Ferrari, trying to bring home another top 5. Snowland is going to be in one of the two Acura NSXs. In the NDL Wara will be in the other Acura NSX. AFZ Next will be back in that black Dodge Viper as well. ZR Villa will be bringing in the Audi R8 GT3 car once again. NWR Origin will be back in the 02 NWR Chevy. NDL Ardno will be taking over the 420 Aston Martin. NWR Arkina will be back in the number 45 Mercedes. NDL Cavatro, who came home second at the end of Stint 1 and is your current leader in the overall championship, will be back in his Team Noodle McLaren. We actually seem to be able to see the paint scheme on that now. EMC Bunter will be back in the number 8 Mustang, and Etoile Freitas will also be back in the number 31 Mustang. VER Reverb will be in the 925 VER Corvette, and VER Bruno is going back-to-back since in the number 94 Corvette now. We are still waiting to see if the PTG team will be able to get their driver in or not. Their primary driver is dealing with a glitch that seems to temporarily reset all of their process. So they're trying to see if either they can speed run him to kick out the glitch, or if they can get a substitution driver. So that is the main reason why we are in a bit of a holding pattern at the current moment. So we're going to go ahead, and while we're waiting, we're going to knock out a Twitch mandated ad break. When we come back, hopefully we'll be loading onto the circuit proper for Stint 2 here at Catalunya. All right, as we load onto the circuit here, time to, hopefully we're able to get everyone in here. It does look like we have 19 drivers, so I do believe we have an entire field for today's event here. So real quickly, using the rail camera, we're going to go through the order here. ESV Pipes will be starting on pole position, followed by VER Bruno. Should actually be Cavatro, who is ahead of him. I'm not sure why he is currently listed as being behind Bruno. Seems like there is a lot of confusion as they were unable to get the order properly fixed here. But Indiel Cavatro should be starting second. Third place should be VER Bruno. Fourth place should be Indiel Hot Dog, followed by VER Reverb here in the 925. After that will be Indiel Wawa in the number 75. Then the 101 Viper with F1R Moonrise in it. After that will be ZR Derluki in the 477 McLaren. Then NWR's 808 Acura. Then it will be Indiel Ardno in the 420 Aston, followed by ZR Villa in the 150 Audi. And then it should be, after ZR Villa, it should be HYR Fritas in the number 31 Mustang, followed by NWR Arkina in the number 45 Mercedes. Or they seem to think that Snowland in this unpainted Acura is ahead. That might be the case. Again, they did not seem to get this the field pre-ordered, and I do apologize for that. After Arkina will be EMC Bunter in the other Mustang, followed by AFZ next, then PTG Chungus, who will be taking over the HP Ferrari, and then it will be NDL Shadow here. As the field comes down and we prepare to get underway here for Stint 2 at Catalunya. Now that ESV starts on pole, will they be able to keep the field behind them for a lap? If they can complete an entire lap in the lead, they're likely going to be able to start walking away. But is that going to be the case? Is that going to be what we will see today? As they come out of turn 3, we'll see them start to accelerate momentarily here. And green flag, and we are underway, and Cavatro did not let Pipes get away in the slightest. Cavatro stays right behind ESV Pipes at the start, but now they start getting through the series of corners. This is where the Dodge Viper has its biggest strengths. Big twitch by VER Reverb there, very nearly wiped out in front of Moonrise, and it's giving Moonrise a shot to pull up alongside. So Dodge versus Vet, but it looks like the Dodge will pull in line behind VER, but Reverb seems to be having just a little bit of a struggle early on here, getting the tires up to temp. He is under threat again from Moonrise. They come up the hill and now onto the short back straightaway. Bruno kind of stuck in no man's land here in third position. And Reverb gets passed by Moonrise. Moonrise made a big dive, got in a hot dog, got all sorts of sideways. Now Reverb loses the position of Wawa. So Reverb starting to hemorrhage time here, and Hot Dog gets an absolutely gigantic hit. Now they're going to be 3 wide as they come to the top of the circuit. And Hot Dog is going to be in the lead, but for how long? The Dodge Viper goes all the way to the extreme outside. The Acura is there trying to figure out a way by. Ferrari, Dodge, neck and neck as they come onto the front straightaway. Big move all the way across the track by Moonrise. Here comes the Ferrari. Here comes the Acura. There's a Chevy there. There's a McLaren there. They are 3 wide. Heavy under the brakes now into turn 1. Who's going to go deeper? And it looks like it will be Moonrise, but just barely, as Hot Dog, Wawa, and Reverb all are briefly 3 wide going into turn 2. The Acura is being swarmed, but he has enough of acceleration. He's able to keep these cars behind just a little bit longer. And now Reverb falls back to 6. Well, or moves up to 6, I should say. Hot Dog slips back to 7th. And it's Indiel Wawa, who is now trying to keep Reverb behind, trying to hold on to a top 5 spot. So while the top 3 seem to be scooting away into the distance, it is absolute anarchy from about 4th and 5th on back right now. At the head of the field, the Viper leads the McLaren of Cavatro. Cavatro, with the draft, is keeping VER Bruno in play. As they go down the back straightaway, Vatro goes really deep, but that compromises his exit. It gives a chance for Pipes to open the gap just a little bit here. Pipes trying to back up the corners, trying to break the momentum of the McLaren and the Corvette behind. At the top of the hill, and now they run down to the last 2 corners once again. Onto the front straightaway. If Cvatro had a good run out, he might be able to use the draft to pull up alongside and try to put some pressure on Pipes here. Was it Chungus that we just lost? It does look like... No, it's Origin. It is NWR Origin who seems to have lagged out here early on. Not even a full 10 minutes into the race. We'll reach out to Origin, see if he wants to talk, but there is a fight going on now for the lead. Cvatro has gotten to the inside of Pipes. It is a drag race, and holding the inside line normally should be enough. But if he can't clear the Viper on exit, then Pipes will have the ideal inside line going through 5 here. Cvatro keeps Pipes kind of cut off on exit, so now it's an acceleration race to the following braking zone. Again, Pipes has the inside line, but Cvatro is not giving him the nice clean line he wants. Now that McLaren has the ideal inside line as they come onto the back straightaway. Oh, the Viper drops the tire into the dirt. Now here comes Bruno, and Bruno's going to get a run. He'll now be the one going to the inside of Cvatro, side by side. And now it's the Corvette that leads, McLaren second, and Dodge slips back to third. So last stint, the Viper spent a lot of time fighting with the Vet until the second round of pit stops was over, and that was a good cheap gearbox that gave him the lead, but now he has to deal with 2 cars instead of just 1. Cvatro drops tires into the dirt and lets Pipes get by. And that has also let Bruno open up the gap just a little bit here. I don't think Cvatro has enough momentum this time to try and make a move into turn 1. This is interesting now, because now Pipes is going to be dealing with pressure on both ends. He has a car in front that he has to deal with, and he has a car running right behind he has to deal with as well. He can put down great laps, so he's going to be held up by Bruno, who is in a heavier American car that will be a lot slower mid-corner, which is where the Dodge has its biggest amounts of strength with their very wide tires. And Cvatro is going to be hanging out there in third. Won't really let Pipes pull away as long as Cvatro can keep the car underneath him. Now the bottom of the circuit here in Sector 2. They accelerate up. Big twitch by both of the American cars in first and second there. So these were the three cars that finished in the top 3 at the end of the prior stint. But Pipes' entry has a gigantic distance advantage overall. These two can't just be right here with him to bring home the win. They need to finish way ahead of this Dodge if they want to bring home the event win. It does not seem like Cvatro is really able to keep up with that Viper right now that he has fallen behind. As they come into the straight, big thing to consider is that Pipes is going to have the draft off of Bruno just ahead and can use that draft as a bit of a defensive buffer to try and keep Cvatro from closing in. It seems very plain to me that Cvatro is good, but he is not nearly as good as our top 2 are right now, and they are slowly starting to gap him. That big chaos fight that we saw earlier is all broken up. This is now Reverb and Wawa having a little bit of a scuffle here. Acura versus Corvette, as F1R Moonrise in the other Dodge has finally scooted away just a little bit. And a little bit farther back, Derluki has moved up into the 7th position, ZR Villa 8th, and Indiel Hot Dog in the Ferrari has slipped back to 9th, so that's not going to help him and his team in their fight to secure 3rd in the championship. And again, they came in tied for 2nd, but realistically they are fighting for 3rd because unless something crazy happens, the ESV team is all but guaranteed to walk off with the win today in all stints and in the overall event. This here is just a matter of Bruno and Cavattro hoping against hope that something goes wrong, but unless something catastrophic goes wrong, there's no way that ESV loses either this event or either of the remaining 2 events on the schedule. There may be a 3rd one added in December that is still up in the air, but as is now, the ESV team is basically guaranteed this win. This is just a matter of trying to negate the amount of gap they pull on this duo, the Vet and the McLaren. Cavattro seems to have stabilized a bit and has closed in on the Dodge just a little bit now. But I think that might also just come down to the fact that the Dodge is being held up by the Corvette here at the head of the field. We look at the tire wear right now. 43% for the Dodge. For the Vet that is leading, 44%. For Cavattro and the McLaren, 43%. So Bruno is burning through his tires faster than the 2 drivers he is currently fighting with at the moment. As they come to the bottom of Sector 2 and now begin accelerating upward, big twitch and slide by Pipes pushes him back into the clutches of Cavattro here. So the Team Noodle McLaren pulls up behind the Dodge once again, uses the draft to keep the Dodge from really running away. Similar to what we saw in the last stint, there does seem to be sort of a breakaway near the front. The top 6 are kind of in a zone of their own. In the last stint it was the top 7, but yeah, there seems to be the top 6 are absolutely in a zone of their own today. Reverb trying to make something happen as he's trying to close down the gap to himself and Indiel Wawa. Wawa is currently fighting for third in the championship with the team that Indiel Hot Dog is on right now. And Moonrise has jumped. What has happened to Moonrise? Did they pit and I missed it? No, but something has happened to Moonrise. We missed it somehow, but Moonrise, I guess, went wide in the final corner and has slipped all the way back to 6th position. So yeah, there is no pressure at the head of this field now. The top 3 now have a significant gap on 4th on back. So we're going to go ahead and knock out a Twitch mandated ad break, and when we come back, we should see the field begin to make their first round of pit stops here at Catalunya. We'll be back momentarily here. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. Our top three continue to run just about nose to tail, but as the tires are falling off, these three are all dealing with a lot of squirreliness in their cars. But ESV Pipes has the advantage, no distance penalties yet, while both Bruno and Cavacho have already stacked up a significant amount of distance penalties at this stage of the event. And we're still waiting to see when this trio of cars will all elect to make their first pit stop. We're anticipating it should come any moment here, and we believe that Pipes has a better gearbox that will enable them to easily take the lead once they make a stop, and that should be what decides it for this trio. Here comes Bruno and Pipes. Bruno misses pit entry, and Pipes gets by him on entry. Well, you saw that there, though, folks. Bruno went wide and had to back way off and cut in hard to make pit road in. And Pipes had a smoother line, so that will decide that fight in Pipes' favor. Cavacho, like he did in the last stint, is electing to stay out a little bit longer. His tires are going to be cooked, and he's going to be bleeding off a huge chunk of time. But again, Cavacho knows he doesn't have to win. He just needs to be bringing home podium finishes. He got a second in in the first stint. If he can pull off another podium here, and then his teammate pulls off another podium in the final stint, it could still work out for him. So he is not going for outright overall pace and wins. He is likely trying to minimize pit stops so he can try to bring home another podium result here. The driver who will inherit the lead once Cavacho pits looks like it will be this one here, NDL Wawa. Although that is a big it. No, that is not the case. Wawa is about to run out of fuel. I think they have enough fuel to make it to pit lane. But they will have to pit at the end of this lap. So it will not be Wawa. Will it be Hot Dog, who fell down the grid? It may be, because look at that. Hot Dog has not burned through the tires nearly as much. So Hot Dog seems to be running a medium set of tires with a harder tire compounds early on in this event. Is Wawa going to have the fuel to make it into the pits? Yeah, they'll have the fuel. It'll be a little tight, but they'll have the fuel to make it in. So, where is Pipes and Bruno going to end up in relation to Cavacho? Both of these two ended up well ahead of the rest of the field, so they are in clean air. And Pipes has absolutely destroyed Bruno after making a pit stop. That is the power of the Dodge Viper. You're able to keep up fights for a lot longer. Even if you can't make moves, you can keep the fight going for a lot longer. But the big thing is, all going to come down to, it was a driver mistake by Bruno that really cost him the lead here. Hot Dog inherits the lead, but he is on an alternate tire strategy. Ardno also is electing to stay out. I believe he is in another one of the Dodge Vipers. No, he is in the Aston, actually. So Aston also electing to run medium tires early on here. And then you have NDL Shadow, who is in another Dodge Viper, also running mediums early on here. And then you get to Pipes. And when it comes down to it, Cavacho has ended up in the middle of traffic. He has both Snowland and Arkina between himself and the duo of Pipes and Bruno. So yes, Cavacho very much out of contention for Stint victory right now. It is just Pipes and Bruno, and even then, unless something catastrophic happens to Pipes, Bruno is very much out of the running. For Bruno, he just needs to make sure he doesn't get turned by traffic like he did in the first stint, so he can bring home a second place result overall here. Missed out on that last time. He came home third in the prior stint. Cavacho had taken home the second in stint 1. Cavacho really held up right now behind the Mercedes Arkina. Despite being on older, harder tires, Arkina does a good job holding that mid to high speed corner coming onto the back straightaway, but as you can see, acceleration does work out in the McLaren's favor for now. Hot Dog is your leader in the Ferrari in a zone all on his own. It takes a long time until you even see the next car on track, and that's Ardno. But we are anticipating that he's going to pit at the end of this lap. Maybe he has the fuel to go an extra lap, but I believe he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. Shadow could probably go a little bit longer, but again, there is a question of how long do you really want to go on the fuel and tires. So in the prior stint, most of the field went on 7-stop strategies, all sauced with 1 stint on medium somewhere in the middle, but a few drivers did commit to an 8-stop. We're anticipating similar things here. Now, granted, the prior stint was all in the nighttime segments. The sun didn't really come out until the very last 2 minutes. So now the track temperatures are going to be a little higher. That means that the tires will come up to operating temperature a little bit quicker, and a little bit more significantly, I would add, the higher temps mean that it's likely you will be dealing with a little bit more tire fall off as the event has gone on, unless you have adjusted your setup to account for that change in tire life. ESV Pipes has gotten by NDL Shadow. The move's not complete yet. All right, now it's complete as they come onto the back straightaway. And here comes Bruno. He's going to try and go the long way around the Vet. And he makes it stick. Why did I say the Vet? I meant the Viper. But he's made it stick. And Hot Dog is pitting out of the lead now. Will Ardno join him in the pits? Yes, Ardno joins him in the pit, so it is now clean air. Bruno has run ESV Pipes back down here. As they go down the front straightaway. So the fight is on at the front, but is there anything that Bruno in the Corvette can do to get alongside and squeeze Pipes out of the lead? Oh, a little bit of contact between the two of them coming out of turn 2 and now through turn 3. We're anticipating the Viper should be able to open the gap just a little bit here, and then the Vet will close it back down going into turn 4. And now into the braking zone of turn 4. And the next few corners will play very well into the Viper's strengths. There's a lot of low speed acceleration, not a lot of big top end in this part of the circuit. Already you can visibly see him opening the gap on the Corvette behind right now. Gap will shrink back down, we imagine, once they get onto the back straightaway. And then we'll start opening up again once they get to the top of Sector 3. That is the anticipation, at least. So after pit stops, Hot Dog has cycled out into the 8th position, and he is running in completely clean air right now. No one around to fight with him. Farther up, NWR Arkina is 7th, trying just a little bit behind NDL Wawa, who in a turn of events, this car was running with over a quarter of a mile distance penalty at the end of Stint 1, but right now has almost no distance penalty at this stage of the event. And F1R Moonrise, who also had about a quarter of a mile distance penalty at the end of Stint 1, this car has no penalties right now as well. VER Reverb, which is in the other VER Corvette, runs 4th right now, but is stuck in no man's land. No one really seems to be in their zip code. And then you have NDL Cavatro, who is a little bit farther up the grid at the moment. Cavatro does not have the pace to fight with the top 2. He is committing to try and do whatever he can to bring home a top 3 result. And then you have the fight at the front. Pipes has been caught by Bruno. But catching is one thing. Gain alongside and complete an overtake is a completely different thing. A little bit of menage a trois here in the mid to rear of the field between ZR Villa, NDL Ardno, and NDL Shadow. But it does look like the Viper has the overall advantage in tire life right now. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and ride on board for a full flying lap with VER Bruno. Give you an idea as to what a flying lap looks like with this Corvette. We'll be back shortly as we go silent for a lap here with Bruno. that is a full lap on board with VER Bruno, who seems to be stuck behind ESV Pipes and has just not been able to make a move to get alongside the Dodge Viper. And right now, with Pipes having no distance penalties and Bruno having a little bit, this fight is very much in Pipes' favor. But similar to what we saw in Stint 1, for the moment at least, the Corvette is able to keep this Dodge awake and alive, keeping him honest. Most of the other battles on track, though, have pretty much dissolved until you get all the way back here to this little fight between an Acura and a Mustang. Snowland and EMC Bunter having a little bit of fight here near the rear of the grid. NWR Aquino runs in 17th, and PTG Chungus and that HP Ferrari is dead last in 18th. The Ferrari's just been ungodly evil throughout the entire season here. Here comes Bunter to the inside, but is not willing to push the issue under braking, so Snowland holds on to the spot. At the stage of the race, only 3 drivers are in position to walk off with the bonus point for not having any distance penalties. Those are Bunter, Moonrise, and Pipes. But as we saw in Stint 1, you have to stay clean all 2 hours. In Stint 1, the Ferrari entry, the NDL Ferrari entry, was on track, but then got a distance penalty in the last 10 minutes. I think it was like 8 minutes and 30 seconds left. So you have to stay clean for the entire time. And these bigger, easier tracks, it's a lot easier to over-calculate and get a distance penalty. At Bathurst, lots of drivers we were seeing getting stints with no distance penalties because there just wasn't a lot of places to overstep. Here, that's not the case. Nearly every corner is a chance to cut or hyperextend and get dinged. Even if you're not actually gaining time, the game will still penalize you if it thinks you have gone too far. So once again, we look at the head of the field. Bruno, tucked up right behind ESV Pipes. Trying desperately to make something happen, anything happen. Gotta figure out a way by. First, gotta figure out a way alongside, and then he needs to make sure that Pipes is on the outside in a corner, so that way the vet can try and out-drag him on acceleration. Ideally, Bruno would want to get alongside Pipes, going in the corner right before the back straightaway, so that way he can try and deny the Dodge a good run through Sector 3. Gap actually opens up just a little bit that time. And while Bruno has the draft they can use to close in a bit, he goes way deep under braking. That's likely going to cause... it didn't look like or sound like he locked up the rear brakes, but that came really close to maybe causing a rear brake lockup. Vatro now up at a tenth of a mile of distance penalties, and here come our leaders into the pits. And this time, it is Pipes who has a little bit of a hiccup coming into pit lane, but nothing as significant as what Bruno had. So the gap is big, and the gap is likely only going to get bigger once they come out. Vatro, again, on an alternate strategy, trying to do whatever he can to bring home a third-place finish right now. So he is going a lap longer. Will likely be able to go 2 laps longer when it really comes down to it here. And then NDL Wawa is running a similar strategy. So is F1R Moonrise, who moved into 3rd. And then you have NDL Hot Dog, who is the first driver who is on a legitimately different strategy. Ran the first stint of the event on medium tires. All right, well, between Pipes and Bruno, Pipes easily holds over Bruno, and even more good news for Pipes, he's got traffic between himself and the Corvette. That is ZR Villa in the Audi, who has ended up right perfectly between the two. So this fight is over. Well, realistically, it is over. Unless Pipes has a really bad time here. Credit where credit is due, Bruno has already disposed of ZR Villa, as Villa has a bit of a hiccup going into turn 4 there. This fight for the lead does seem to be over, as Pipes is now rushing off into the distance. Vatra leads. We believe he'll be pitting not this lap, but the lap after this one. He is trying to go for what we believe will be another 7-stop strategy. Most of the other drivers, we believe, are on a 7 or an 8-stop strategy, but a lot of the other drivers, we believe, will be putting on medium tires near the end. Cavatro is trying not to run mediums at all. He is just trying to run the soft tires every stint he can and just drag them out an extra lap, and using that to cumulatively cut out a pit stop. All right, so Wawa pits, so this will move F1R Moonrise up into second now, with NDL Hot Dog just a little bit behind. Moonrise has the position. Hot Dog wants it. Both these drivers ran on what we believe was medium tires on their first stint. We believe they are on soft tires this run. And they're likely going to be pitting at about the same time on circuit. A little bit of contact, nose to tail. Derluki is holding up Pipes. Pipes is actually going to get trapped on the outside line there. And there goes. Here comes Bruno. Is that what he needs? Well, it got him alongside, but he's alongside on the wrong side of the track. And the sheer torque lets him put himself back in front, but traffic worked out in Bruno's favor there. And he is back on Pipes' rear wing, and the Dodge slides a little bit through the switchback. The fight is back on. Hot Dog gets by Moonrise now. Ferrari clears the Dodge as they come back to the top of the circuit here, at the top of the track, Sector 3. Cavatro jumping into the pits this time. Hot Dog is going to stay out. Moonrise will stay out as well. But Cavatro stayed out 2 laps longer, which is exactly what we were anticipating he would do. We know he's going to continue to gradually bleed off time to everyone else with this strategy, but he is trying to make sure he just never runs a harder tire compound while still trying to get the benefit of cutting out a pit stop. Again, this is not a race-winning strategy. He does not have the pace to make it a race-winning strategy, but he is trying anything he can to bring home another podium, if at all possible. The gap between Pipes and Bruno has opened back up, and at the front, it is Hot Dog who is now scooting away from F1R Moonrise here. Luki's pitting, Villa's pitting, Bunter is pitting. As they accelerate downhill once more. The gap does seem to be going in Hot Dog's favor between this duo. Again, this duo is not fighting for the overall win right now. They are fighting for third at best, unless something catastrophic happens to Pipes or Bruno. So right now it looks like it is Moonrise, Hot Dog, Cavatro. Those are the 3 drivers who are all fighting for what is currently setting up to be third place on track. And here comes Hot Dog into the pits this time, but Moonrise is going to stay out even longer now. So Moonrise really milking everything he can out of the tire-saving advantages that this Dodge Viper has. NDL Shadow is going to make another pit farther back. So our top 2 drivers on track are now 2 drivers who have yet to earn any distance penalties at this stage of the event. Dodges 1-2. Without a doubt, they have become the best car in the field. And their advantage is not something you can just knock out with rebalancing. Not unless you want to give the Dodges a massive additional boost in straight line speed. And have we lost another driver? We may have lost another driver. Yes, it seems like we have lost the PTG Chungus entry. So we're going to try and reach out to PTG Chungus and see if they want to talk about their struggles in that car. This also means that the first driver that would be on set to go a lap down now would be EMC Bunter. I don't know if invites just aren't working or not. Xbox party quality has gone to absolute crap over the last few months, and just trying to talk to people in Xbox parties has been just about impossible. All right, here's Moonrise into the pits. So the lead goes from one Dodge to another here at Barcelona. This also, I think, should put Cavattro back into third overall on the circuit. That's exactly what it will do. VER Reverb runs a little bit behind, running a strategy similar to what we saw in the prior one, a conservative, steady strategy in this second VER Corvette, and Reverb trying to put himself in position to maybe get a third place finish in this stint. So everything seems to be relatively calm right now. We're going to go ahead and knock out another Twitch-mandated ad break. We'll be back momentarily here at Catalunya. And we'll keep an eye as on everything as the race continues to develop, as we are about a third of the way through the middle stint here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. We are watching a bit of a battle between Wawa and Hot Dog. Hot Dog ran down and passed Wawa on circuit here. These two fought for a prolonged period of time in the prior stint, and they seem to be doing the same now, but they are on slightly alternate strategies, I believe. Hot Dog currently has basically an entire lap advantage when it comes to tire and fuel life right now, but Wawa is better off when it comes to distance penalties. Right now, only EMC Bunter, who was last, and ESV Pipes, who was first, have no distance penalties at this stage of the event. Everyone else has been racking them up. Drewski already over a quarter of a mile of distance penalties, so there is no holding back. Everyone seems to be kind of throwing caution in the wind and going full bore when it comes to track limit abuses, just trying to make something done. And no, there have not been any new spider encounters since I took care of the incident earlier. Biggest thing that I'm dealing with right now is just trying to micromanage my voice so I can get through the rest of this stint. Hopefully my voice will still be around enough that I can still cover stint 3, as I am dealing with a little bit of the post-COVID cough. Ironically, the worst part about COVID is not the sickness at all. It is a very mediocre sickness. It is the constant smoker's cough that absolutely destroys your vocal cords for the next 3 weeks afterwards. That is the worst part of it, and that's what I'm trying to micromanage right now. Big slide there by Hot Dog under braking and acceleration. It really gives you an idea of just how evil these Ferraris are here at Catalunya. Bit of a fight here between HYR Fritas and AFZ Next. More of a stalking battle at the moment. It is another pair of American manufacturers. It is the Ford Mustang and the Dodge Viper going at each other for 13th. And next slides off. That has been something that he has made a sad habit of throughout the event. Most other battles on track seems to have been pretty much dissolved at this point. There has been this, which has been Wawa gradually sliding backwards through the grid as being caught by other drivers who are at currently a tire advantage. Remember, Wara, I keep calling him Wawa, thinking of Takanashi Kiara. I do apologize for that. But Wara pitted earlier because I believe he went softs on the earlier stints, and Moonrise behind him and Hot Dog ahead of him went mediums early on. So while they were behind on track position, they are at a positive tire delta that they should be able to continue to hold through just about the rest of this. And Wara is going to be at a tire disadvantage, and that is why he is gradually being eaten up and just destroyed on circuit. It is the same 7 cars that were out front at Stint 1 that are the same 7 here out front in Stint 2, and roughly the same positions overall. But the penalty gaps are a little bit closer between them all, with the exception of Pipes. Pipes with absolutely no penalties whatsoever. And for Cavatra, this is worst case scenario. If Pipes goes off and pulls another bonus point by just bringing this stint home with no distance penalties whatsoever, it's going to make Cavatro's strategies much, much harder to make happen. Pipes is coming in, and so is Bruno. This time, Pipes just gives up and just pounds the wall, and so is Bruno on entry. Cavatra, we imagine, is going to stay out for about another 3 laps longer on this circuit. Reverb is going to pit out of the 4th position. We believe that Hot Dog and Moonrise will both be staying out for a little bit. Wara, are they going to go ahead and pit this time or not? No, they are going to stay out. So those 3 drivers there what is the primary strategy, which is just all softs until the very end, and we'll likely see those 3 all throw on medium tires near the very end of the affair. When it comes down to it, when it comes down to the fight between Pipes and Bruno, Pipes immediately has to start fighting with Indiel Wara the moment he gets out pit lane, and there is no cars between Pipes and Bruno this time. So if Bruno wants to try and close back in on Pipes, this is the best chance. He needs to make it happen now, and he needs that Acura to really be a pain for the Dodge. And the thing is that the Acura has good acceleration. It's really the only car that's in the same ballpark as the Viper when it comes to acceleration. So in theory, this should be the hardest car for Pipes to try and clear on track. And already you can see Bruno visibly closing the gap down between himself and this Dodge. Now the Dodge should be significantly better in this corner. But if too good, you're just going to hit the car ahead and bleed off all your momentum. Here comes the move. Going to try and go the long way around against the Acura. Can't make it stick. They make a little bit of contact under braking, and the Viper is wide. Going to try and cut in, have a tighter exit. Still can't get alongside. And the Corvette continues to get closer and closer. Wawa leaves about a third of a lane open. The Viper tries to force his way up. There's no room. They stay nose to tail for now. And Bruno gets closer and closer. Alright, this is going to be where things get interesting now. This is going to be a drag race between the two as they go down the front straightaway. The Acura should have a better top end. But the Viper can go very, very deep under braking. Might be able to complete the overtake here. And he does. Very, very smooth overtake. The Acura is trying to fight back, though. Puts the bumper back on the Dodge. And now there's the Corvette. Corvette goes to the inside. Going to try and outrun the Acura down to turn 4. Can't make it stick. Not that time. Okay, so now Pipes has cleared Wawa. How long will it take for Bruno to dispose of the Acura? Somehow through all of that, Pipes did not end up with any more distance penalties. Honestly, that's kind of the most shocking part of it to me. All right, comes to the inside is Bruno. Does he try crossover and go deep under brakes here? That's what I would try and do. That's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to slide up, get alongside, and now he's going to try and out-accelerate, and by putting the anchor offline, he does. So it takes Bruno only about 2/3 of a lap to get by a car, while Bruno seems to be taking an entire lap. But the thing is that in clean air, there's just nothing you can do because that Dodge Viper is so smooth in the corners and just does nothing to tear apart its tires. So while Bruno is overall closer when it comes to the two of them dealing with traffic, in the end, it is clean air that is working out significantly more. Clean air and tire life that is working out more in Bruno's favor. In Pipe's favor. Our top three, Cvatro, Hot Dog, and Moonrise, all continue to be running on an alternate strategy. We believe that Cvatro is going to be pitting he might be pitting this lap, actually. He ain't have to just because of how worn his tires are going to be. But we believe that Hot Dog and Moonrise will be pitting at the end of this lap or next lap. It's going to be a little bit hard to tell. Moonrise especially can go a little bit farther on tires than most of the other cars around him because he is also in the Dodge Viper. So keep that in mind. Moonrise, very, very good at going long on the tires here. And I do believe that Moonrise is good enough. I don't think a win is in contention for him, but I think he could be in the fight with Hot Dog and Cvatro, and to a lesser extent, Reverb, in a fight for third. Moonrise is most definitely closing down on NDL Hot Dog, and Cvatro is pitting this time. Does Hot Dog pit this lap as well? That is the question. Big twitch, big slide, but he's going to stay out on track a little bit longer, and Moonrise has caught him. So it's going to be Ferrari and Dodge at the head of the field, followed by another Dodge and then a Vet. Fifth place is going to end up being Cvatro once they cross the line. No, it's not. It's going to be Wawa, actually. So Wara moves up to fifth. This fight continues here. And Moonrise holds on to the position. Now that they are ahead of Hot Dog, they seem to be able to hold on to it. The tire advantage very significantly working out in his favor. Hot Dog might actually be caught by our main strategy leaders, Pipes and Bruno, before this is over. This could be Bruno's last chance to try and do something to Pipes here, because traffic has been where the Dodge has been struggling. Cars with better top end are typically the ones who are better at navigating through traffic. There are exceptions, but that is generally how it works. And boy, that was definitely a hold up there by Pipes. Pipes definitely had to worry about that. Here comes Bruno, and Bruno is going to be trapped on the outside of the Ferrari and clears them. The gap has shrunk a little more, but not by enough. And Hot Dog has pushed the tires just a little bit too far. Look at the tire life there on this Ferrari. 76% on that left rear. That has got to feel absolutely awful. Moonrise is going to come in this time, so he will not be a factor for the lead. Not this time at least. He pits at 67% on the fronts. So Moonrise and Hot Dog really push their tires, and Wara will be joining them in the pits this time as well. Wara actually ended up, I think, with a slight tire advantage. Yeah, he did not push the tires nearly as far, so while he is now even with them on tires, it seems like all three of these drivers seem to be even on tires, so it's now just going to be a matter of driver ability, track position, and distance penalties between them. And this will also cycle VER Reverb back up into fourth, and NDL Cvatro will go back to third position. And Pipes, once again, has been caught by Bruno. It has been traffic that has been the big thing that has really been holding up this ESV Dodge throughout the event today. We have another fight going on here. Three cars, all with a blanket on top of them. Three completely different cars at that. Audi McLaren and BMW M8 all really going at it here. There's a lot of contact going on. Being very argy-bargy now. It is Shadow who leads Villa. No, it is Villa who leads Derluki and Druski. I do apologize for that. But yes, right now, between them all, Villa is better off when it comes to distance penalties, and Druski, with just about a third of a mile, it has the worst distance penalties of all drivers on track right now. For the moment, all drivers are still on the lead lap, but that's likely because two of the slowest drivers, Chungus and Origin, lagged out very early in the event. Ardno now pitting. Ardno kind of faked his way into the top 7, but he is on a wildly alternate strategy. He's not actually ranked top 7 on merit. Well, that will decide that by the looks of it. Druski drops the tire into the dirt, so now it's just Villa and Derluki here. Audi's wide through the final corner, kind of bled off a lot of time, and that means that Derluki will have a good time to just hold on to the draft and try to close down a relatively good run out. All three of them will clear the Aston, so the Aston shouldn't have too much of an impact on this menage a trois. The BMW closes back in under braking this time. Oh, and now Pipes has ended up with a distance penalty. So for the second stint in a row, no driver is going to walk out of here with the bonus point for no distance penalties. Now Pipes still is better off when it comes to distance penalties than Bruno, but he is showing some humanity. He is showing some weakness now as he continues to be pressured by Bruno. And Bruno knows I can't just pit a lap early and catch him. Bruno tried the pit a lap early strategy in the prior stint against Green, and it just caused him, while there were a few moments he got closer, it just caused him to bleed out time overall. Bruno knows he has to just mash Pipes on track and just try to pressure this Dodge Viper into making some sort of mistake here at the head of this field. Still going to be a while until this duo catches more traffic. You're likely going to pit before they catch traffic. And the longer and longer you stay in cleaner air, that works out better and better in Pipes' favor. The biggest thing that Bruno has working in his favor, though, better top end, and is with him running behind the Viper, he's got a draft as well. This fight is still not over. And now Ardno, who has pitted and put on new tires, I thought he was not going to have an impact, but no, he is right there in the middle of this fight. He has added himself in to this battle here, a four-way. Although it's not really much of a four-way, as ZR Villa is starting to scoot away just a bit. Bruno pits a lap early again. That strategy did not work last stint, and it's not going to work this stint either, but Bruno is obviously showing some signs of desperation. He knows he can't beat Pipes on track, so he's going to pit now and hope that when he comes out, he will be in clean air. If Bruno comes out in dirty air in the middle of traffic, he is in trouble. He is screwed for the rest of this. He'll end up behind Reverb. He'll end up behind Moonrise as well, I would imagine. In fact, I think Bruno is going to be held up by F1R Moonrise. Let's take a look at that real quickly. Yes, Bruno is not in clean air. He is tucked up right behind F1R Moonrise. This strategy did not work in Stint 1. It is not working in Stint 2 either. Bruno is going to have to get around another Dodge Viper. Now, Moonrise has been slower than Pipes today, obviously. So Bruno should have a pace advantage, but still, he's going to have to take a lap, getting offline, off the ideal racing line, and actually pass him on merit, and that's just going to be incredibly, incredibly frustrating here. Meanwhile, Pipes is in perfectly clean air. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He can just crank off laps all by himself now. Does he pit this lap or not? Yes, Pipes pits this time. So where's Pipes going to end up in relation to Bruno? I'm pretty sure that Pipes is going to end up right in front of this duo of Bruno and Moonrise. For the sake of having a good fight, I'd like to be wrong, but that is what's looking like the case will be. Reverb also is going to pit out of the third position. So this will cycle Moonrise back into second on track. Cavatro will retake the lead once more as well. All right, down the front straightaway they go. Pipes coming out of pit lane now as we speak. Where is he going to end up? There goes one Dodge Viper by. Oh, is this not worked out? This might not have worked out. And pitting a lap early this time. Oh, and there's contact! And Moonrise gets hit by Bruno. Moonrise got hit by Bruno under braking, so now Bruno in clean air, but that might get looked at post-race. And now Pipes will have to deal with another Dodge Viper. He's got a massive tire advantage over Bruno, but Bruno now has track position advantage. So suddenly the turns have tabled in this fight for the Stint win. And this could be good news for Cavatro. If Bruno is compromised here, if the VER entry that Bruno is in, if that can win the event overall, that denies points to the ESV team. Now, that's probably not going to happen, but suddenly the chances are there. They seem alive. Moonrise is not happy. He has put the bumper, and he's ran Bruno off track! And Moonrise runs Bruno off track! Bruno put the bumper to the Dodge, and the Dodge Viper said, screw you, and he shunts him off. And now Pipes is back ahead with the tire advantage. So while it was a good strategy, it got him the track position he needed, Bruno, with excessive aggression, has thrown it away. Got too aggressive, and it bit him in the ass, not even a full lap later. So it goes back to Pipes being the driver who is setting up to be the overall event winner here once more. Again, in distance penalties, Pipes has a quarter of the distance penalty that Bruno does right now. The big thing is that if Pipes catches Moonrise and Moonrise puts up a big fight against Pipes, then Bruno might be able to run Pipes back down, but otherwise, that's basically it. Bruno had a good strategy and got shunted off track by a completely different Dodge Viper. There's a fight going on between Hot Dog and Wara once again. Remember, these two are now back on similar tire strategies at this stage of the event. All right, we watch Pipes. This is the real interesting thing, in my opinion at least. It's the most interesting battle. Pipes is not closing on Moonrise with massive speed, but he is closing. He's going to have the draft off of this Dodge Viper going down the front straightaway. I don't know if Bruno is close enough to get a good draft off of this duo as well. But if Pipes gets the draft but can't clear Moonrise by turn 1, he will still be held up, and that could bring Bruno back into the fray. Yeah, Pipes is not close enough to make the move, not this time. Between the Hot Dog and Wara, Hot Dog has it. Wara slips back to 6th once again. Reverb is way back here in 7th right now, but again, Reverb is on a conservative strategy. He is pitting very early. He's not trying to stretch the tire, so he is going to eventually be in a position where he has better tires, hard tires, but better tires near the end, and drivers will be paid and falling back behind him later in the go. Getting on board with Bruno. He sees 2 Dodge Vipers ahead. One that he has to beat to win, and one he has to beat just to absolutely kick him in the nuts after getting ran off track. So Bruno and Moonrise is not the rivalry I was anticipating to see play out here, but it is the one that we have gotten, as both of them have shunted each other off track at different times in the event. And Bruno is not catching this duo. If anything, Pipes is pulling away and Moonrise is maintaining his gap on Bruno. So yeah, this is definitely over between this duo. Cavatro continues to lead right now. Now, Cavatro has more distance penalties than anyone else in the top 7, but not by a massive amount. Also, Bruno has a big chunk of distance penalty as well that I think he earned after being shunted off track back there by Moonrise. And this is probably going to be the change for the lead. Pipes has the draft on Moonrise. He should be able to pull up alongside under braking here in turn 1 and take this without issue. If he doesn't even do it in turn 1, he clears him in the straightaway. So that was over. That, no time at all for Pipes. Shadow making a stop. When does Cavatro make his next stop? Again, Cavatro's just aiming for a top 3 result. He's at 67% tire wear. I imagine he would like to stop at the end of this circuit here. If you look at the pit sequences, Cavatro has yet to make his 4th stop of the day. Again, he is on what we believe is a 7-stop strategy. Pipes and Moonrise, we believe, are on a 8-stop. Oh, and Dorluki lags out now. We're going to try and reach out to Dorluki and see if he has anything he wants to say, but another dropout here. Our 3rd one in this stint. We only had 1 disconnect in the stint 1, but 3 now in stint 2. And here comes Cavatro pitting this time. So the lead will go right back to Pipes once again, and now this fight is back. Moonrise versus Bruno. Moonrise says, I'm not dealing with this. He immediately commits to going into the pit lane. So no chance of payback from another round of payback. And the sheer pace advantage should keep Bruno ahead of Moonrise for the rest of this. But Bruno had a strategy that got him ahead, but it was excessive aggression and payback that cost him the position. And now everyone, the top 7, has made or is making their 4th stop of the day. Still going to be a little bit until AFZ Nex, who is last of all drivers still running, gets caught by the leaders. Nex has just recently made his most recent stop, so he's going to be out here for a while. It's going to be a little while until traffic comes into place. Kind of like a complete opposite scenario of what we had last stint. Traffic was already coming into play and already playing havoc. This time it's not likely going to be an issue until the last 30-35 minutes, and with how spread out the rear of the field is, it just may not have an impact whatsoever compared to what we saw last time. Okay, so the majority of the field has knocked out 4 of their anticipated 7 to 8 stops. With a little less than 55 minutes left, we're going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here. We are going to go ahead, though, and ride on board with Indiel Wara in the Acura here once we go away, so you can get an idea as to what a flying lap looks like on board with this Acura, who continues to fight with Indiel Hot Dog in the Ferrari. So once they come around to the final sector, we'll go silent and ride on board for a lap. But this fight is not quite done and over with yet. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya, and everything I had been saying before we went to break about how it's going to be a long time until our leaders catch traffic, well, everything's changed. Arkina and AFZ Next continue to fight, and as they have fought, they have dragged themselves back into the grasp of ESV Pipes. So Pipes is setting up to have to deal with traffic early again. Again, not as significant as what it was in the last stint, but traffic is going to be an issue once more. Next immediately pulls over and will not give the leading Dodge Viper any issue whatsoever. So that will work out in Pipe's favor, and that will basically kill Bruno's hopes. But Arkina is the next driver that Pipe's going to have to deal with. And Arkina, in his day, is a legitimately good fast driver. He just really seems to be struggling in this series. But Arkina has, or has shown at least, good driving talent. If he's really committed, he could really give Pipe some problems. And now we see Bruno is going to jump into the pits before he catches any of this traffic. So could this be a strategy by Bruno? Pit early so you just do not deal with the traffic that Pipes has to manually fight through. It's a bold strategy, Pat, and let's see how it plays out for him. Well, I got some bad news for you, Bruno. You're right back behind your rival on track as F1R Moonrise in that Dodge Viper who is right ahead of you again. Moonrise, again, is going to be Bruno's problem. Bruno is going to have nightmares about Dodge Vipers. He has been fighting Dodge Vipers in some way or another for about 90% of his runs today. Kind of feel real bad for Bruno. Keeps dealing with these bloody Dodge Vipers. It'd be one thing if he was fighting with a variety of cars or if it was just one guy the entire time. But no, he keeps fighting with different people and they always seem to be in Dodge Vipers. Pipes is a little bit more reserved coming into the pit lane this time. But there's no way he loses the lead to Bruno. The thing is just going to be Cavatro. How much longer does Cavatro stay out on track this time? Cavatro's big thing is that he has been pushing a tire advantage as far as he can to try and minimize pit stops and not run on the medium tires at any stage of the event. He keeps cycling back into the lead, not for a super long period of time, but he keeps cycling back into the lead on this strategy. Yeah, sure enough, Moonrise still behind Pipe, still ahead of Bruno. So Moonrise will continue to be Bruno's biggest nemesis here at Catalunya. Wara and Hot Dog continue to have their little spat on the circuit. These two are fighting for what is fifth on track, and what will, after this event is over, what will be third in the championship. The Ferrari entry with Hot Dog finished ahead of Wara's Acura at the end of Stint 1 off the back of distance penalties, but this time around both of them have comparable amounts of distance penalties. If anything, it is Wara who's had the advantage in distance penalties, so this could go down to the final stint here, depending on how the rest of this plays out. Here we are, nose to tail. Down the straight. Is there a move by the Ferrari? No. Actually ends up braking nice and early so he doesn't run over the Acura. Big twitch by the Acura over the curves on the exit turn 2. And now the Ferrari is right tucked up behind again. A lot of restraint by Hot Dog right now. He's not charging super deep into the corners. He's not putting the bumper. He's just being reserved. He's anticipating that this is going to come back in his favor. Meanwhile, Bruno, not really closed in on Moonrise that much. And Moonrise is actually kept right up with ESV Pipes. But this has been kind of like the boiling pot, the cauldron. Moonrise and Bruno both knocked each other off track. One time each, within about 2/3 of a lap of each other. And Bruno's going to have to navigate around Moonrise again. Pipes still set up to walk off with this win. But again, not by as much of a gap as we anticipated. But the thing is that if you still have overall more distance than everyone else across your 3 drivers, across the 3 stints, it's still a win. It doesn't matter if it's by just 5 feet or 50,000 feet. But the way this is going, though, I do have to wonder, is Cvatro in a outside position to maybe actually contend for the overall event win? I don't think so, just because of the way the distance penalties are playing out. But Cvatro is not bleeding off huge chunks of time to Pipes. If Pipes ends up having to really struggle with traffic later on in the event, if something goes wrong, we might see Cvatro steal this stint win. I don't think it's going to happen just because of the way the distance penalties are going to play out. But that could end up being a legitimate factor to consider near the end of this event. That is EMC Bunter, who goes down a lap now as the leaders pass him after Bunter makes his pit stop. Also want to go ahead and pour one out to VER Reverb. Unlike his teammate who ran in Stint 1, Reverb just has not had the outright pace to really fight with the drivers ahead. I think Reverb is basically locked into a 7th place result in this stint. I think it's really just Hot Dog and Wara fighting between each other here for 5th. And I said earlier, Wara had the penalty advantage, but now it's Hot Dog who has it. And then it looks like I think Moonrise is going to be fighting with Cvatro for 3rd, and then it's going to be Pipes will win and Bruno 2nd. That is what the end result of this event looks like it is setting up to be, at least from my perspective. Moonrise has now been caught by VER Bruno. Is there going to be a little bit of payback? The best kind of payback is just absolutely destroying your rival on track. And Bruno seems to agree with that, and he just goes right by the Dodge Viper. No fighting back this time. Cvatro pits now. So that will give the lead back over to ESV Pipes, as we knew would happen. I do believe the fight for third is going to be between Moonrise and Cavatro. Moonrise has been a little bit more aggressive when it comes to his tire choices. Granted, he's been able to go a lot deeper into the runs. But more importantly, while Cavatro has pace, Moonrise has significantly less distance penalties. He only has a little bit more than a third of the distance penalties that Cavatro has right now. That's basically a 500-foot difference, about 490-foot difference between Moonrise and Cavatro. So I think in the fight for third, it's going to be between that duo, and I do think that will be... Cavatro has the advantage for now, but if Cavatro bleeds off time, I think Moonrise is going to catch him. For Pipes, the next driver he'll have to worry about putting a lap down would be HYR Freitas. As Bunter and AFZ next are both already a lap down each here. Hot Dog and Wara both have made stops recently, which has put them back behind Reverb. We're about 2/3 of the way here through our second stint at Catalunya. The time continues to click away. No one is going to get, a bonus point for a completely clean stint 2. Moonrise now pits out third. And with that, I do believe that means that Bruno and Moonrise, I think, will not have to deal with each other on track again, assuming that Bruno doesn't get hit by traffic and spun like he did back in stint 1. So Moonrise will fall behind Cavatro. Where is he going to end up in relation to Reverb, Hot Dog, and Wara? Well, Reverb clears Moonrise without too much issue. But Hot Dog and Wara are nowhere close to Moonrise. Yeah, I think Moonrise is going to be fighting with Cavatro legitimately for third here. And I might be calculating these numbers in my head wrong, but I do think that Hot Dog and Wara are fighting for 5th and 6th between each other. Reverb is locked into 7th. I think it's going to be Moonrise versus Cavatro for 3rd and 4th. Bruno's going to be 2nd, and Pipes is going to win. That's what it's looking like to me. Okay, so for whatever reason, my internet has decided to crash again. Ironically, this is the same time that my internet has decided to crash the last 2 endurance streams that I've done for P1R. It is the exact same time of day in the middle of the exact same stint. I'm hoping that Twitch is not going to cut the stream in half. I'm really hoping and praying and crossing my fingers that the stream is not going to be cut in half. But whatever internet issue I'm having is consistently at this time of day, I lose my internet. My Xbox is still going, my stream is still live, probably because I have my console connected via an Ethernet cable, but my general PC internet is dead. So I don't know why this has happened again at the same time of day, 3 months in a row now. But it has seemed to have been an issue. VER Reverb has ended up ahead of VER Bruno. I believe it's because Bruno has just recently made another stop. Yeah, Bruno has just made his another stop recently, and Reverb has not yet done so. So we are likely to see Pipes pit this lap. Maybe next lap, but likely will pit this lap. But once again, the two VER drivers on different strategies, aiming for different spots on the track, pitting at the same time. And no, Pipes is going to stay out a little bit longer. He's got the tire wear to do it, and he's got plenty of advantage. I wonder if Pipes is going to try and extend some of these stints so he can try and run a little bit more consistently near the end of this run. But yeah, okay, so Bruno now has to figure out a way by his VER teammate of Reverb. Down the straightaway. How much is Reverb going to fight with Bruno for this? Reverb holding an inside line. Bruno's going to have to go around the outside. Is he just going to brake early and let him go? Yeah, he lets off the throttle and just lets his teammate go. A little bit of team orders within the VER team, it would appear. So Bruno, I believe, is committing to an 8-stop strategy here. Just going to try and go all softs all the way to the end. Cavatro is a little ways up the track, but Bruno has more distance penalties than Cavatro does right now. Waiting to see when Pipes pits, but I believe it's going to be this time. We're going to go ahead and knock out one of Twitch's mandatory ad breaks, and when we come back, we'll likely see ESV Pipes coming out pit lane. We'll be back shortly here at Catalunya. Huh? I mean, there's a massive tire difference and strategy difference. Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like by pitting earlier than Pipes again, Bruno is back over Pipes on track again. But as Bruno is now pitting roughly 2 laps earlier than Pipes, he's either going to end up in his position where he has to make an extra pit stop late in the event, or he's going to have to put on medium tires late in the event when he wasn't planning to. Either way, while Bruno now has track position, I feel like he has gotten an even worse hand of cards when it comes to strategy, and that coupled with the fact that he has 7 times the amount of distance penalties that Pipes does means that this doesn't really change anything. Right now, there is just no way on earth that Pipes loses this to Bruno unless Pipes ends up in some sort of accident here. Bringing up the calculator real quickly. "818 feet. That is how close Pipes has to be to Bruno. And that is a Viper that just went off. That was Nex, who is currently the only one a lap down, as Bunter and Arkina both got a lap back. But yeah, Pipes would have to be more than 818 feet behind Bruno to lose this, and I don't see that happening. I really just do not see that happening. I'm not saying it can't happen. I just don't see that happen. Over 800 feet, there's just no way on earth. especially because Bruno is either going to have to be on a harder tire compound near the very end, and he's going to bleed off a bunch of times to Pipes, or, and I think is what's more likely to happen, we'll see Pipes put on a set of medium tires after his final stop, and Bruno's just going to have to make an entire extra pit stop and try to drive back from an entire extra pit stop. I don't see that working out. I see no way that Bruno is able to parlay this into a win. He's definitely going to be closer to Pipes than where he was before, but there's no way that a win is in the cards for Bruno. Cavatra leads at the moment, and I think Cavatra is still realistically only fighting for third. I think Cavatra still has 2 more stops to make. Bruno still has 2 more stops to make. Again, Pipes only has 1 more. But Cavatra has legitimately been putting together some good runs, and if he is close enough, he might still nip Bruno for second on track before this is over here. No guarantee. I could be wrong, but I do believe the end results are likely going to be Pipes, Bruno, Cavatra, or Pipes, Cavatra, Bruno. I think the same 3 cars that are on the podium in Stint 1 are going to be at the podium here at the end of Stint 2. F1R Moonrise is kind of in a zone of his own right now. Doesn't have a lot of distance penalties. He's well ahead of Hot Dog and Wara. I think Moonrise is stabilizing himself to be 4th place finisher here and the second best when it comes to the dodges. Hot Dog and Wara continue to swap positions back and forth. It does look like the NDL Hot Dog entry has gradually turned out to be better between the 2 of them, but it does look to me like NDL Hot Dog and Wara are going to be coming home in 5th and 6th where they are. And then way back here in 7th is VER Reverb. Now he is way ahead of everyone else on pit stops, and he'll also likely make his final pit stop earlier than the others, but he'll probably put on medium tires, and like what we saw this happen to this car in the prior stint, he'll get a lot of track position at the very end, but bleed a bunch of it off, just not burning up tires, but dealing with older, harder tires when everyone else will be on fresher, softer rubber near the very end. When it comes to distance penalties, though, Pipes and Moonrise are in a zone of their own. Pipes is really in a zone of his own. Then you have Moonrise and Hot Dog, and then everyone else in the top 7 are well over 0.15 miles of distance penalties as we speak right now. Look at Cavatra, 59%. He's going to have to pit this time. If he pits now and then pits once more after that, that is it, I believe. Again, Cavatra will be pitting now. Will run for about 13 to 14 more minutes and pit again and throw on softs. And that's what he'll probably run to the end here. Bruno is going to likely be on something similar of a strategy. If anything, if I was Bruno, I would be considering pitting now and just mimic Cavatra's pit strategy. I'd be tempted to, at least. I don't know if it's the best option, but I might be tempted to. Thing is, I think that as this has gone on, Bruno, between fighting and scrabbling with Moonrise and just not having a lot of pace and keep saying himself pitting early and earlier, which is hurting him long term, I think Bruno has gradually kicked himself out of a 2nd place finish for the 2nd stint in a row here. Honestly, the most interesting part to me is how far behind Pipes is to Bruno. But again, I believe a lot of that just comes down to pit stop. They're both made 6 stops, but they are very obviously going for different numbers. Pipes definitely going to go for 7 stops. He's just going to throw on mediums for the final sprint to the end. Bruno was going to be doing something closer to soft to the end here. Excuse me. Again, Pipes has the tires and the fuel. He should be able to make it to about 20 minutes left and throw on the mediums without any issue. I see no issue whatsoever for him to make that happen. Other thing to consider, though, Bruno, your leader, about to come up on Arkina again. So we'll put Arkina a lap down, but we'll likely pit right afterwards. So Arkina goes a lap down, but will likely get the lap back shortly afterwards. Now, he's probably not going to stay on the lead lap. I do think Pipes might still catch him. But it does look like in this race, the leader's pace has slowed down significantly. At the end of the prior run, only the top 10 drivers were still on the lead lap by the end of it. This time it looks like we might still have 13 or so drivers on the lead lap by the end. And Arkina will jump into the pits with Bruno. Okay, so the lead goes back to ESV Pipes. Moonrise is going to pit along with Bruno. So Moonrise might be in an interesting position. Moonrise might go soft, or Moonrise might be confident enough with his tires. He might choose to throw on medium tires. And while he'd absolutely be hemorrhaging time in the last lap, he might be savvy enough on the tires to make it work. We'll keep an eye on that going forward. But Pipes goes back to the lead. Cavatro goes back to second. Bruno is still third and just now comes out of pit lane. Reverb will pass Moonrise. So Reverb moves up to fourth. But again, we're anticipating that Reverb is going to be pitting in about 5 minutes or so. And then we'll throw on mediums and then we'll just bleed off time after that. We think that Reverb is going to fall behind Hot Dog and Wara here. This duo will not stop fighting. One of them seems to get the upper hoof, and the other gets the upper hoof, and it just keeps going back and forth between this duo as it goes on here. Ardno and Snowland came back there in 9th and 10th position, so a lot of drivers who are knowing that they're going to go softs are knocking out their second to last pits right now. If you know that you're really good on saving tires, maybe pit with 22 minutes left and throw on the mediums to the end, but I don't think that's a good option. I think it'd just be better to pit with 20 minutes left. Pipes likely will be pitting sooner rather than later. It would, can you imagine how destructive it would be to everyone if Pipes stays out long enough to make it soft to the end as well? That would really let him just massively open up his gap on the rest of the field. I don't think that will happen, but boy, that would really, really just kind of destroy everyone else. Thing is, Cavatro might still be setting up well for a run to come home second. He's got the advantage over Bruno on track position and distance penalties right now. And Cavatro will make one more stop. Bruno, we believe, is going to be making one more stop as well. He's at 10% right now. Where is Moonrise in relation to Bruno when it comes to tires? He is at 9%. Yeah, I think Moonrise is committing to making another stop as well. I think Moonrise and Bruno are both committing to making one more stop out of this. So they are likely going for the 8-stop strat. Well, technically Moonrise will be on the 7-stop strategy, but Moonrise and Bruno will be paying on roughly the same lap. But yeah, this really kind of goes to show, we've not really noticed it, but Moonrise has been so good because the Dodge Viper does not have that big top end. You're able to do so much more with the tires because, well, not more, but you can do less, but with so much longer with these Dodge is on their tires. Basically, Moonrise has made up an entire pit stop compared to the likes of Bruno. I think Bruno's going to be the only one really set up for an 8-stop strategy here in the entire field. Pipe stays out for another lap. When does Pipe select to pit? That is the big wild card question. As he is closing in on traffic ahead, that is HYR Fritas, who he is threatening to put a lap down here. Man, if Pipes puts on soft tires, if Pipes pushes this out long enough to, if he pushes out to like 16 minutes left when he puts on soft tires, it's going to destroy everyone. Yes, he'll bleed off a lot of time at the very end, but he is going to destroy everyone in overall distance. This duo continues to go at it. Ferrari on track has the lead for now, but Wara in the Acura really is putting the screws to him here. Okay, Pipes has put Fritas a lap down now. So now only the top 11 are on the lead lap. So now, near the very end, it's not really that the leader's pace is picking up. It's more like the pace of the drivers near the back has really fallen off, and now we're seeing a lot of them all go a lap down as they have completely kind of keeled over in pace in this final quarter of Stint 2 here. If you want more endurance racing, I'm assuming my voice is going to hold up. We will be back about an hour after this stint is over for the final stint, Stint 3 here at Catalunya, the final run to the end. And while the ESV team seems all but guaranteed to win this event, there could be an interesting fight for every remaining spot for Cavattro. He needs to finish as good as possible in order to bring home a good result and help his championship hopes. Reverb now ducking into the pits. Okay, so with Reverb ducking into the pits, we're going to go ahead and knock out our last Twitch mandated ad break. And when we come back, we'll be with the track and be on track to the end of the stint. Don't go away. We'll be back momentarily here at Catalunya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here to Catalunya. We're going to be here to the end, but while we were away, VER Bruno slid off circuit in the final corner and has bled off a bunch more time in the process. So Pipes has this in the bag, but I want to say something else that I think I've noticed with Pipes. I think Pipes is not on soft tires right now. I think he is running on the medium tires right now, and on his final pit stop, he'll make his final pit stop with about 12 to 14 minutes left, and he'll run softs to the end. But I think he's running his medium stint now, his second to last run of tires. One of the reasons I feel that is that I'm noticing that Cavattro is absolutely tearing in to ESV Pipes' lead at the moment. But again, we do know that Pipes is going to have to pit, and Cavattro will also have to pit. And this, coupled with Bruno going off for the second time now, it looks like Pipes, Cavattro, and Bruno, they're all going to finish in the same positions that they were at the end of Stint 1. But again, we knew that the ESV team was going to win, but Pipes is not nearly as far away from the rest of the field as we were anticipating. We thought he would be going into this. We thought that the ESV team would be repeatedly finishing a third of a lap ahead of everyone else. Bruno and Cavattro have been keeping Pipes honest enough. And while the gap has absolutely been opening up as the event has gone on, there has been nothing that Pipes has been able to do to just destroy the field. If there is an incident or problem with the ESV team in the final stint, they might still lose this. I don't think that will happen, but possibility of losing this event is still up in the air. And the other thing as well, while ESV is out there leading, Cavattro is doing everything right to keep him and his team in second. And if they can bring home second, that is basically the best way to stem the bleeding. With only 2 races left, there would be more than a race worth of points between Cavattro's team and the ESV team. Now again, if we have a third race that gets added in December, that will change things a bit. But right now, Assuming that is only this race, then the October and November Enduros, Cvatro is doing everything right to ensure that his team will be able to maintain as much of their points advantage over the ESV team as possible. Looking real quickly at Hot Dog and Wara. When is this duo going to pit? I feel like it would have to be this lap, ideally, for Hot Dog. For Wara, I think this lap might be a good choice as well. They both may choose to stay out for one extra lap if necessary, or one of them may choose to pit a lap early, one may choose to stay out a little longer, try and offset each other. We figure that they're both going to end up behind Reverb after pitting, but they may still have the pace to run down and overtake Reverb on track after that happens. And neither of them are going to pit this time by. Pipes continues to lead. 15 minutes left. He surely is going to pit at the end of this lap. Maybe next lap, but surely it will be at the end of this lap. And when he does so, he'll be able to throw on soft tires to the end. Cvatro has absolutely torn apart the gap between himself and Pipes, and he still has fresher tires than Pipes as well, but is just about out of fuel. He will be forced to pit this time by, and the gap will immediately start opening again between Pipes and Cvatro afterwards, because when Pipes pits, he'll put on soft tires, and that will see his pace significantly crank back up. Well, right now, this duo, our top two, are sharing the same straightaway with each other. Bruno just completely has kind of fallen over. He'll likely be pitting this time. His tires are just about cooked, and he'll be throwing on a set of softs, and he has quite a bit of fuel still in the tank, so this might be a short fill for him. Frustrating thing for Bruno is that Moonrise is not that far behind. And while Moonrise also will likely be pitting very shortly here, Moonrise might still be in position to really give Bruno some troubles. All right, here comes Cvatro into the pits this time. So Cvatro pits this time. I imagine Bruno will pit this time. No, Bruno stays out, but Moonrise will pit now. And we'll see Hot Dog and Wara likely both jump into the pit road this time as well. So how many spots is Reverb going to pick up and then have to defend and try to hold on to the end here? We look at the penalty counters. Cvatro still has the penalty advantage over Bruno. And we figure that when Bruno pits, he's going to fall back to third. So Cvatro setting himself up for another second place result here. And there's Reverb. So Reverb clears Wara, clears Hot Dog. Now Moonrise and Cvatro both have yet to... Not Cvatro. Moonrise and Bruno both have yet to pit. So Reverb might end up ahead of Moonrise. And these two are still stuck in each other. Game hasn't realized... Alright, now they separate. So now this fight is legitimately on. Wara versus Hot Dog all over again. I believe we're going to see Villa get back onto the lead lap, and I think Drewski will likely get back onto the lead lap as well at the very end here. Alright, here comes Pipes into the pits this time. And he will be joined by VER Bruno. Now, Pipes should still be able to hold the lead over Cvatro once he comes out of pit lane. That is the anticipation, at least. Or not. Oh, is something different going to happen here? Oh, could we see something unanticipated? Cvatro accelerating down. And with less than 12 minutes left, Cvatro goes into the lead. It's not a big lead. It's close enough that on distance penalty, Pipes will catch Cvatro back. But Cvatro's in the lead of this race. Now, Pipes is likely fast enough and has fresh enough tires. He'll run Cvatro down, but that's not anticipated. Bruno is just barely ahead of Moonrise. Moonrise did pit, right? Yeah, Moonrise is pitted. So Reverb's only up into 5th. He'll have to hope that Wara and Hot Dog spend so much time fighting that they can't catch him. Wara has gotten by Hot Dog, but again, Wara has twice the distance penalty that Hot Dog does right now. And even if Wara catches Reverb, he is at a penalty disadvantage right now. Big thing for Reverb is that he's got traffic ahead. Not a lot, but he does have traffic ahead. That is Arkina, Bunter, and Drewski. All three of them all fighting with each other for position. Then AFZ Next actually went a lap down again. Freitas is pitting, Snowline is pitting, so we may see Freitas go a lap down here. And at the head of the field, Cavatro leads. We know in distance penalty, Pipes has him by default. There's no way that Pipes loses this to Cavatro. That gap is only, I believe, like 650 feet between the two of them in penalties, and Pipes is definitely within 650 feet of Cavatro. Moonrise just earned another chunk of distance penalties back there, as he is trying to run down Bruno near the very end here. Again, I'll be interested to see if there ends up being penalties levied against Bruno or Moonrise for the fighting, and both of them ran each other off track earlier in the event. But despite that, they're still both going to come home to top 4s. Wara's holding station over Hot Dog. Hot Dog might be able to clear Wara and maybe even Reverb again by the end, just off of penalty count back. The really interesting thing is that Reverb has traffic ahead, but he's not really catching that traffic with speed. So Reverb may not deal with a lot of traffic at the very end of this. Not saying it won't happen at all, but he's not going to be dealing with that much. Hilariously, traffic ended up being a factor again. We thought it wasn't going to be a problem, but no, it is forming up to be a controversial thing once more here. And while this series does employ blue flag rules, blue flags can only help so much if there's only so much room on the track to move over. There's not much a car who is a lap down can do. A blue flag doesn't just make the slower car evaporate into thin air. They still have to get off track, off of the ideal racing line, and in some parts of the circuit, that's just not an option. Pipes continues to run down on NDL Cavatro. Big thing for Cavatro, though, is that the more space, or the tighter the gap is between the two of them at the end, the less distance he hemorrhages overall to Pipes, and it keeps his team in contention. We are about to have a fight for 5th. There is no way around this. Wara has Hot Dog for the moment, but Wara has opened up to almost a quarter of a mile of distance penalties now. But Wara is running down Reverb, and Hot Dog's just like, yeah, you go ahead, you run him down. I'm not going to fight you. Wara wants Hot Dog to catch Reverb. He wants the two of them to fight, and he can just hang out right behind and catch both of them. Now, these guys are not close enough, I think, for Hot Dog to capitalize on Moonrise. Moonrise has only got about 0.025 miles of distance penalty between himself and Hot Dog. So I think Hot Dog can only go for 5th, but still, this is very much looking like a scenario where some smarter driving might be all it takes to give Hot Dog 5th place here, despite being 7th on track. Big thing, though, is, of course, if Wara continues to struggle and can't catch Reverb by the end here, that might not be the case. They can see Reverb up the road just a little bit. Pipes is bled out a bit of time. He's lost a bit of time to Cavatro this circuit. Not really sure what happened there, but he has lost a little bit of time to Cavatro. Reverb is still not closing on the traffic ahead, so this is a legitimate fight here. .686 feet, I just calculate, is the distance that Cavacho would need to be ahead of Pipes to win this. It's just not happening. Big twitch, big slide right in front of the Ferrari, and Hot Dog says, I've had enough of this. I'm going around your outside. I'm tired of being held up by you. We're not going to catch Reverb if you keep fighting with me like this. But Wara says, I'm going to hold this position over you. And now they're just about to catch Reverb anyway. Reverb is just ahead. Reminder at the end of the prior stint, this car was on worn out mediums by the end and it was just hemorrhaging time. And it looks like we're looking at the same thing about to occur here. There's a possibility that Moonrise might catch Bruno off of distance penalties as well. We'll keep an eye on that. But the gap between first and second now is starting to close back down again.
Remain.
Thank you, game. Reverb still not able to do anything for the traffic ahead. It doesn't even look like he's close enough to really get a good draft off of them and use that in his favor. Is Hot Dog close enough as is now to leapfrog Reverb? We know that Hot Dog will get Wara in distance penalties. Is he close enough to Reverb to steal 5th in distance penalties as well? With 4.5 minutes left, so he'll get this lap, another lap, and then a little bit more of a third lap, and that will be it. Oh! Was there contact? It didn't look like there was contact, but the way that Wara shot off the circuit there, he acted like he got hit, but I didn't see any contact while we rode on board there. That's going to hold them up. But look, they are still, despite that, they are still even closer. They are there. They are on Reverb. Again, Reverb has a distance penalty advantage over Wara. I think this is it. I think Hot Dog's got him. I think this is close enough. Hot Dog's going to get both of these for 5th. Third is, I think Moonrise might be able to clip Bruno for 3rd here on track as well. Reverb is just continuing to not go anywhere except into the clutches of the cars behind. And there we are. Wara is here. How aggressively do you fight? If a move's coming, it's going to come this time. They're about to start their last full lap around here. A defensive move by Reverb. Wara is going to go all the way to the grass on the inside. Hot Dog just hangs out behind, watching this two fight. He's holding the more traditional, normal line. And Wara clears the Corvette. Indiel goes by again. And now, what does Hot Dog do? Hot Dog goes to the inside of the Corvette. Hot Dog's earned a little bit more distance penalty, but he's still better than the two cars he's fighting. And the Ferrari beat the Chevy into the corner. No? Can he beat him out? Yes, he'll beat him out. And he is still right behind Wara. Wara is now trying to cut his way through traffic. He's gotten by the Mercedes. Now coming up on the Mustang. It would have to be about 250 feet, the distance, for Wara to stay ahead of Hot Dog. I just don't see that happening. Hot Dog now clears the Mercedes. Now the Mustang's between the two of them. And Wara gets into clean air. Both only 100 seconds left. I don't think there's enough time for Wara to open the gap on Hot Dog enough to secure 5th. Reverb's gonna fall to 7th like we anticipated. Your winner is Cavacho. Your winner is gonna be Pipes. but it's only going to be off of penalty countback. Cavatro had the better strategy and overall better pace than Pipes here. So while Pipes will continue to open the gap, in overall distance, it's not going to be by much. The interesting thing is going to be Bruno and Moonrise. Bruno finally clears the car that was giving him problems, but there is a possibility that Moonrise might clip Bruno. If he's within about 425 feet, Moonrise will clip Bruno for third. Hot Dog finally clears the traffic. He still sees Wara ahead. Still has half of the distance penalties that Wara does. So yes, Hot Dog should still be able to steal fifth in the end. No drivers are going to get the bonus point for no distance penalties, and in the end, it is Indy Eldrewski nearly a half mile of distance penalties. But as they come down to finish it off, 20 seconds remaining. It looks like Cavatro and I think Pipes as well will be able to finish their laps. I don't think anyone else will have a chance to finish, though. As you see the clock go down. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. Time's up. Over. Plow. And in the end, no. No, there is no way that Cavatro got Pipes at the end. There is no way that Cavatro got Pipes in the end. There is no way that Cavatro got Pipes in the end. Did that actually happen? It looks like it. Cavatro got Pipes in the end. So ESV loses what was a sheer guarantee. We're going to knock out an ad break and try to get some interviews done later, but you can see the final results here at Catalunya. Hello, can you hear me? Alright. Don't know if anyone else is gonna join. It might end up just being you and I here. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Stint 2 out of 3 is over, and apparently we have had an upset winner as Indiel Cavatro has clipped ESV Pipes for the Stint win. I want to talk with our third place finisher, VER Bruno. Bruno, go ahead and include your audio in the Xbox party if you can. Bruno, are you there? It says Bruno's in my party, but, don't know what's happened. Oh, yeah, let me do that. Okay, so he seems to be having some sort of problem, I guess. Let's see here. Trying it again. Bruno, can you hear me this time? All right, Bruno, go ahead, include your audio. A pair of third place results. At this point, it's got to feel frustrating because it seems like you're doing everything right, but things just keep sending you off track. What happened in Stint 1 that shunted you down the order, and what happened here in Stint 2 that shunted you down the order?
Yeah. I mean, car felt okay in one, but I think two things that caused me to lose it a bit in the first stint. The first one was I changed the setup a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have done. Car felt a little more, or had a little bit more pointiness to it, but it also ended up causing me to not take the curbs as well. So I was losing a lot of time there. I went off, I think, once or twice. But what killed me in that stint was I went into turn one, and there's like a tire, like one of those, like a tire that you would put in a tire barrier on the racing line. And I was turning, and the physics in this game. I hit the tire from the side, and the car spits me like 3 feet to the right, and it ruins your corner, right? Like that kind of thing ruins your corner. And I was trying to get myself, I guess, situated again, but that completely compensates my line for the next corner. And I turned too early. I hit those two sausage curves or whatever those are called. The first one put my car in the air, and then the second one spun me out. That lost me about 10 seconds. I think I ended up losing to Green by 15 and Cavacho by 4. So, one could be argued how that race turns out differently if those two things that I had mentioned didn't happen. And then the second stint, I had some moments, but it was mostly okay. I got a little lucky with the traffic for the most part. But there was one moment where I had played that strategy that I had pit a lap early to try to jump ahead of pipes, and I did my job with that. And then I double downshifted in the kink and unsettled my car completely, got in the gravel. Like I think that probably lost me 3 seconds, 2 to 3 seconds. And at that point I was beating pipes, and then I was behind him by 2 seconds. That changes the game, right?
So that instant there was no contact between you and Moonrise in that.
No, Moonrise wasn't close to me. It was just double downshift, lose the car. That wasn't a Moonrise thing. But later in the stint, what really lost me time was out of the final corner. I think it was Drewski was re-entering the track off on the gravel, and I had to swerve to avoid, and I went in the gravel, and I think I lost 7 seconds from that. I lost the pipes by 6, so you can wonder how different that race would be if that didn't happen. The first one was kind of my fault, but I don't think the second one was.
Yeah, a lot of frustration, but at least overall you are still in contention. Your team is still setting up for for a podium result overall. I do have to ask, who's taking over the car in Stint 3?
I was informed on Thursday that Betrayed couldn't race, so it's going to be Geekin who drives in the third stint. He was supposed to do this one, but I think he wasn't able to make it for some reason, so he's going to take the third stint. I hope he does better than me, but I don't know. I don't know how the tire wear compares, but at least with our car, the Chevy at a certain point, it just does not work well when you get on worn tires, and it doesn't allow us to play a strategy like Cavacho did or like what Pipes did. So it's kind of frustrating that the car shows up pretty good on one lap pace, but we or the car just can't get it together in the race. So I hope Geeking can fix that.
Yeah, that's been kind of the story for the Corvettes the entire season. They are incredibly good in single lap pace. They are very good fighting cars when it's car on car. Corvettes almost always will end up winning in those fights, but the long-term performance as the tires go away and the fuel burns off just does not seem to be with the vets. It is a shame to see that. I do want to say, Bruno, thanks for jumping in and talking with us, and we look forward to seeing how you and your team perform over the final stint today. Thanks for jumping in and talking.
Yep, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, that'll pretty much wrap up our broadcast here from Catalunya for Stint 2. But don't you worry, in about 45 minutes time, we will be back to cover Stint 3. So we still have 2 more hours of GT3 endurance racing to go through. But until then, I've been your host for today's broadcast, Insane Leader 13. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I do want to say farewell and goodbye, everyone.